the unborn person doesn't have constitutional rights. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't do everything we possibly can in the vast majority of instances to, help a mother who is carrying a child.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, much more on that, by the way, in today's Gimme 5, so make sure you stay till the end of the show. Joining us now on the Malzberg panel, Stacy Washington, host of Stacy on the Right show, and Jennifer Crumpton, progressive writer, editor, and author of Femmevangelical. Welcome to both of you. Stacy, let me start with you. That the unborn has no constitutional rights is a very extreme statement. I don't even know if it's absolutely true.
Well, I wouldn't say is it absolutely true or not. I would say, didn't she kind of out herself a little bit when she said unborn person? Remember, the Democrats like to go against science and say that unborn babies are clumps of tissue, they're just cells, it's just a mass of nothing, it doesn't become a human until it's born, yet she said unborn person. So I think it's interesting to hear her talk that way, and there's backlash on both sides, obviously, because what she said is untrue from the pro-life side, and from the pro-choice side, if you will, they're upset because she called a baby that's still in the womb a person.
Yeah, and Jennifer, they go after Donald Trump, but this is a fight that the Republicans should welcome, because the polls show that America is not with Hillary and the radical leftists on abortion on demand up till 9 months, which is what Hillary is for, and the Democratic platform says is okay. Therefore, severe restrictions. What do you think of Hillary's statement here?
Well, honestly, the Equal Rights Amendment still hasn't been passed, so technically grown women don't have rights under the Constitution at this point in history. But look, I've never heard any Democrat say that they agreed with abortions up to 9 months.
Hillary will not put a time limit on it.
Well, she did actually in this statement. She talked about the first trimester. I think, look, science is very sketchy around this issue. This is why we have the debate. And we tend to talk about the debate in terms of, yeah, that's funny, isn't it, to you?
But science isn't sketchy. We see, as a matter of fact, science is advanced. Wait a minute, Stacy. Science is advanced to the point where we see sonograms with hands and fingers and smiles in the first trimester.
What makes a human being is the soul. And a lot of times we start to talk about this issue of abortion in solely conservative Christian evangelical terms, which was how I was raised as well. Yes, a lot of times that's where the conversation lies. So, well, I didn't interrupt you, so if I could just get a thought out.
Stacy, you'll go next. Let Jennifer finish. Go ahead.
But there are strains across every Abrahamic religion that believe that the soul does not enter into the tissue and the cells until 90 to 100 days into the pregnancy. So, people have different views on this, and they're all legitimate.
But that's the problem. That's the problem. Stacy, when Obama was asked when life begins, and he says it's above my pay grade, then isn't it incumbent upon any decent human being to err on the side of caution? If you don't know, and we don't know for sure, then you got to say, hey, then let's assume it's conception, because if we don't know, we don't want to be wrong and kill a baby.
Well, I think it's just interesting that the people who get to argue most vehemently in favor of snuffing out life while it's still in the womb are people who made it out of the womb themselves. It's absolutely ludicrous to say that we don't know when the soul enters the body. If the piece of tissue is growing and we all produce after our own kind, just using the scientific arguments, then you know that what's growing inside that woman is a baby. So is it inconvenient for her to carry it to full term? Absolutely. But is it right to use convenience as a method to snuff out human beings, 1.1 million of them a year? I would say, no, it's not right. And it's not about Christianity. It's about right and wrong. And leftists claim to be so good at discerning what's right and what's wrong, yet they're so wrong on this issue.
Okay, and you said women don't have constitutional rights?
I said the ERA has not yet been passed.
But women have constitutional rights.
Technically, we're not written into the Constitution as females.
Right.
All right. Anyway, we're coming back with much more of the panel. Did you see what Obama did to the French president? Did you see the peace sign he made in a group photo at the nuclear summit? Both are disgraceful. We'll talk about it. Don't go away. All right, folks, back with the panel, Stacy Washington and Jennifer Crumpton. And I want you guys to listen to, they had the nuclear summit in Washington on Friday, and the French president spoke, and the White House edited out, reportedly, the reference to Islamic terrorism made by the French president in the official video. Watch.
We are also making sure that between Europe and the United States, there can be a very high-level coordination. But we're also well aware that the roots of terrorism.
Et nous devons agir en Irak et en Syrie. C'est ce que nous faisons dans le cadre de la coalition.
All right, you heard it go blank. Now let's put up on the screen what he said, and it says we're also making sure that between Europe and the United States there can be very high-level coordination, but we're also well aware that the roots of terrorism, and that's where the translation stopped, Islamist terrorism is in Syria and Iraq. So, Jennifer, this president, and the White House said it was a technical glitch, and later they put it back up, but they got caught. This president, not only can't he say Islamic terror, he can't stand to have anybody say Islamic terror.
Well, look, when I worked for the International Center for Religion and Diplomacy, which works across lines of different religions for peace and counterterrorism, one of the top strategies that's agreed upon, especially by the people in the MENA region, the Middle East and North Africa, is that the top strategy is to deny the terrorists the privilege of being associated with Islam. This is a long-tested and tried strategy.
Not working so well, though.
Well, who's to say it's really not working?
You want the list of attacks and recruitment and sophistication?
Well, there could be a lot more.
They probably say that.
But, when you see the terrorists, they film them beforehand. You see them out in clubs. They're drinking alcohol. They're at strip clubs. They're doing nothing that is Muslim. There's nothing Muslim about them. They kill more Muslims than any other religion or person on this planet.
But they do it in the name of Allah, and they do it based on what they see in the Quran, Stacy.
Yeah, they do. The Quran is very, very explicit in its admonitions to strike the infidels like myself,
wherever you may
find them, strike them at their necks, remove their heads, put them in cages, line the cage with a fire, something that creates fire, set them on fire, drown them in a certain specific way. The Quran is very specific, and there are no later verses or parts of the Hadith or any of the Surah, the Sunnah, none of those holy documents rescind any of the previous orders that were put out by Muhammad himself.
But Muslims don't practice any of that, just like Christians don't practice the violence in the Bible.
But Muslims are practicing that.
True.
The terrorists are doing that.
They're not Muslims.
No. With all due respect, they say they're Muslims. Who are you or anybody to say they're not Muslims?
Why do you want to give them the credence of defining
I don't
who
want to
they
give the
are?
credence. I want to kill them.
You're giving them the power,
All right.
and that's exactly what they want.
Let's move on to the clown, Barack Obama. At that same nuclear summit, they took a huge group picture, and here we go, 78. Look at Obama. If you could see him, actually we'll do a close-up now on 79. He's given a peace sign and joking around during the picture, and there's Cameron from the other end looking at him like, what are you, crazy? You know what, Jennifer? I mean, this guy is classless. He's out of touch. He thinks everything's a game, and he thinks he is walking on water.
I don't pick that up at all from this photo. We don't know what he was saying at the moment.
He should have been posing at the moment.
The peace sign is a universally recognized cultural symbol. It's used all across the world.
But you don't use it when you're taking a Syria. Nobody else was flashing it, Stacy.
Well, what's wrong with showing some personality?
All across the world, people who are taking selfies and teenagers. Grown-ups don't flash the peace sign when they're gathered together with all the other world leaders.
Absolutely, they do.
It's a serious subject. People are dying. As she said, millions of Muslims, but thousands of other people who aren't Muslims are being killed. And the attitude that he has is always, he's got his arms in the air and he's at a baseball game. He can't take longer than 52 seconds to comment on it.
And
that's ridiculous. That's just the most ridiculous thing
Jennifer and Stacy, got to go. Stacy Washington, Jennifer Crumpton, I thank you both. Jill Kelly, on her new book on the General Petraeus scandal, will join us next. Again, thank you both, ladies.